Excuse me, do you still have a room for rent? I am very quiet. I won't bother you. Are all renters this polite nowadays? No posts at all. Looks like a ghost account. Let's make this egg fried rice first. My name is Lu Zi, a 23-year-old guy who failed to make it in Beijing. I worked as a programmer in the capital for half a year. The 996 work culture almost killed me. Little Lu, you young people need to learn how to be grateful. It's a blessing that the company is giving you this opportunity. My boss' gaslighting skills were 10 levels higher than his coding skills. The day I quit, I didn't even bother getting a certificate of resignation. I grabbed my bag and headed straight to the train station, fleeing back to this small southern town like a refugee. Tongqing County, the place where I was born and raised. My parents have been abroad running a tea business for years, leaving me a 3-story house with a yard. To put it bluntly, I'm just a landlord, living a 50-year-old's retirement life ahead of schedule. As for whether it's embarrassing, I couldn't care less anymore. Just as I was about to eat my egg fried rice, my phone suddenly buzzed. It was that ghost account again. I'd like to ask, can I pay the rent monthly? I saw your listing says 1 month's deposit and 3 months rent up front. Monthly is fine. 1 month's deposit, 1 month's rent. Okay. Thank you so much. Can I come over to take a look this afternoon? Sure. Number 17 Cherry Blossom Alley. Knock when you arrive. Don't ring the doorbell. It's broken. After hitting send, I tossed my phone aside and focused on tackling my egg fried rice. It was drizzling outside. The old cherry blossom tree in the yard was in full bloom. The rain was knocking the petals to the ground, covering the flagstone path in a layer of pink and white. Holding my bowl, I leaned against the kitchen door and watched the rain, thinking that in this kind of weather, the prospective tenant probably wouldn't show up. Then the door was gently knocked 3 times. The sound was so faint, it was almost drowned out by the rain. If I hadn't been listening closely, I wouldn't have noticed it at all. I put down my bowl and went to open the door. The sight outside made me freeze for a moment. A skinny, petite girl was standing at the entrance, carrying a massive black drawing board on her back. It was tied to her body with ropes and towered a good chunk above her head. She looked like a snail carrying a heavy shell. Her head was lowered, fingers tightly gripping the hem of her shirt, until her knuckles turned white. Excuse me, are you Mr. Lu? I am. You're the one here to rent the room? I leaned against the doorframe, looking her over. Do you want to come in? It was only then she realized she was still standing in the rain, and she hurriedly took a step inside. The threshold tripped her, causing her to stumble forward. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Relax. The doorframe can't feel pain. Come on in. I turned and walked into the house, with hesitant footsteps following behind me. After a few steps, I looked back. She was standing on the doormat, struggling with whether she should take off her shoes. Her canvas sneakers were completely soaked, with a few rain-battered cherry blossom petals clinging to the toes. No need to take them off. Just come on in. She carefully followed me in, her steps so light they were practically silent. I took her up to the 3rd floor to look at the room. The 3rd floor used to be a storage room, but I just cleared it out last month. Come in. This room has the best lighting. See, the window faces the cherry blossom tree. I stopped before I could finish my sentence, because when I turned around, I saw her eyes light up. She had kept her head down this whole time, so I hadn't gotten a good look at her face. Now, she raised her head slightly, catching a beam of light perfectly on her face. She stared at the cherry blossom tree outside the window, the corners of her lips curling into an unconscious, subtle smile. What do you think? She immediately dropped the expression and lowered her head once again. Great. Rent is 1,000. 1 month's deposit. 1 month's rent up front. I have to lay down the rules first. No pets allowed. No overnight guests. And no loud noises after 10 p.m. Can you accept that? Her shoulders visibly stiffened. The then is 800, okay? I knew shed haggle. 850. Not a penny less. Really? Nope. She choked on her words. Just kidding. 850 it is, if you agree. If not, then forget it. Yes, that works. Thank you, Mr. Landlord. If that works for you, let's sign the contract. 1 month's deposit. 1 month's rent up front. Give me your ID so I can register you. Her hands were shaking as she fished her ID out of her bag. It took her a good while to get it out. I took her ID and glanced at it. Lin Wanwan, 19 years old, a local, named Wanwan. It's quite a pretty name. Can I move in today? Suit yourself. I don't have a lot of luggage. That makes things easier. Here are your keys. Clean up the place yourself. For dinner, I made an extra bowl of tomato and egg noodles. Maybe I just hadn't gotten used to being a landlord yet. It wasn't until I dished the noodles out that I realized, crap, I subconsciously treated her like a guest and cooked an extra bowl. I carried the noodles up to the 3rd floor and stood by the door for a moment. I raised my hand and knocked, but there was no response. I knocked twice more. Still no response. Just as I was about to turn and leave, the door suddenly opened a crack. A hand reached out from the crack. I paused for a second before handing the bowl over. The door slammed shut. From start to finish, I didn't even see her face. Hey, you could at least say thank you. The next day, when I went to clean the kitchen, I found that someone had already done it for me. The kitchen was spotlessly clean. There was even a note placed under the bowl. A line of text was written on it in pencil. Thank you for the noodles. They were delicious. I folded the note and casually slipped it into my apron pocket. Then I took 2 eggs from the fridge and placed them in that bowl. This was the first exchange between us. The next afternoon, I went out to take out the trash. The rain outside had stopped. The air carried the sweet scent of cherry blossoms and the smell of rain-washed earth. Carrying the trash bag, I walked to the corner of the alley. Suddenly, I heard a commotion ahead. Yo, Lin Wanwan. Long time no see. I heard you dropped out of school. What's wrong? Too scared to even go to college? We just played with you for 3 years. Is there really a need to be this terrified? Move out of the way. What? Speak louder. What? Speak louder. I couldn't hear you, I said. Please move out of the way. Ah, oh my. Let me see what you've drawn. Ha ha ha. Trees and flowers again. And the sky again. Lin Wanwan, you're still as boring as ever. This one's not bad, though. I quite like it. The next second, she slammed the drawing hard onto the ground. Then the second one, the third, the fourth. The drawings scattered all over the floor. Lin Wanwan let out what sounded like a strangled whimper. She forcefully shook off the arms, holding her on both sides, and threw herself to the ground to pick up her drawings. What's the point of drawing these? Who's even going to look at them? Exactly. Lin Wanwan, you might as well give us the money you spend on drawing paper. The red-haired girl was about to say more, but suddenly heard footsteps. The yellow-haired girl glanced back and hastily yelled, "Let's go! Let's go! Someone's coming! We'll come play with her next time." All 3 of them turned around to look at me at the same time. I walked straight over and stepped on the phone they had dropped on the ground. "Who are you?" "I'm her landlord." "You like bullying people, do you? Why don't you try bullying me instead? What do you want? Don't ever bother her again. Or don't blame me when I come looking for you. I happen to have a lot of free time these days." The purple-haired girl tried to speak, but was held back by the yellow-haired girl. "Our phone. Move your foot." I bent down and picked up the muddied drawings from the ground. "Don't ever show your faces in this alley again. Do you hear me?" The 3 girls exchanged glances. The red-haired girl snatched her phone, and the 3 of them scrambled away. They almost crashed into a trash can at the end of the alley. "It's okay now. Don't cry. Thank you." Then she lowered her head and went back to picking up the drawings on the ground. I let out a sigh and crouched down to help her. There were several dirty drawings. One of them was a drawing of the sky, with pink and purple sunset hues filling the rice paper. The paint was smudged by the muddy water, creating a strangely beautiful watercolor effect. I noticed a tiny signature in the corner of the paper. The last one was a sketch. I froze for a moment when I picked it up. It wasn't a landscape. It was a drawing of a person standing in the kitchen, wearing an apron, frying an egg. Although it was just a quick sketch with a few strokes, I recognized that it was me. In the bottom right corner of the paper, she had signed her name again. This signature was even smaller than the others. I turned the drawing face down to cover it up, pretending I hadn't seen it. "Here you go. They're very well drawn. The thank you, Mr. Landlord." I'll head back now. She clutched her portfolio tightly to her chest and kept her head down as she ran deeper into the alley. I watched her figure disappear at the end of the alley. After standing there for a moment, I bent down, picked up the remaining torn scraps of paper from the ground, and threw them into the trash can. Back home, I sat at my desk, staring blankly at the computer screen for a long time. On the screen was the remote freelance project I had taken on a few days ago. The project manager had already urged me 3 times, and there was still a line of code I just couldn't get right. Right now, my mind was full of that sketch. I was extremely frustrated. At this point, I might as well just go to sleep. The next morning, I woke up choking, not woken up by my alarm clock, but by smoke. Thick smoke. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw light gray smoke seeping in from under the door, swirling slowly around the room. The air was filled with a burning smell. I couldn't tell what was burning, but it definitely wasn't anything good. My first reaction was fire. I flipped over and bolted up from the bed, rushing barefoot out of the bedroom. The living room was filled with smoke. The source was the open kitchen door. What? Are you trying to burn my house down? Sorry. I just thought the noodles you made yesterday were really good, so I wanted to make breakfast to repay you. Repay me? You're trying to poison me. No. This was supposed to be an egg pancake, but the flour seemed a little off. I turned off the water and turned to look at her. She had a smear of flour on her left brow bone and a streak of soot running from the corner of her right eye down to her chin. She looked like a little tabby cat that had just crawled out of the stove. I couldn't help but laugh. She froze. It was the first time she had seen me laugh, and probably the first time. I found this kind of thing so damn amusing. All right, that's enough. Let me see your hands. Did you burn yourself? No, I didn't, really. If you didn't, Then what are you hiding? Hold out your hand. And you call this not burned? She stopped talking. I sighed, dug out some burn ointment from the first aid kit in the living room, and squeezed a little onto her finger. Her fingers trembled slightly in my palm. Her fingertips were ice cold. You're not allowed in the kitchen from now on. I hear you. But no buts. I'll make breakfast and dinner, and you'll be in charge of washing the dishes. I'll take $50 off your rent. But $850 is already so cheap. Are you gonna wash them or not? I'll wash them. All right, we're having egg fried rice for breakfast. Wait here. MC, sorry. About the pan. Put it on your tab. I'll deduct it from next month's rent. That pan was $120 when I bought it. So factoring in depreciation, I'll charge you $68. Thank you. I know why you're deducting from the rent. You said $850 yesterday on purpose to charge me less. You think you got the lowest rent? That 200-pound fatty upstairs nagged me for 3 days. But I stood firm at $900. Not a penny less. Don't you know how good of a deal you're getting? What are you giggling at? Go wait in the living room. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Landlord. From then on, the kitchen became a strange sort of meeting place for us. I said she wasn't allowed inside, but I never said she couldn't hang around the doorway. Every day around 5:30 p.m., when I put on my apron and started washing rice and chopping vegetables, she would run down from the 3rd floor and sit on a wooden chair by the kitchen door. I called that chair the supervisor's seat. She never came inside. She would just sit at the door, hugging her knees, and quietly watch me cook. Occasionally, when I turned around, I would catch her looking at me, and she would quickly look away, pretending she hadn't been looking at anything. To be fair, she was a pretty good audience. She didn't boss me around when watching me cook, and she didn't complain that I chopped veggies too slowly or used too much oil. Occasionally, when I added seasoning to the soup, she would stretch her neck slightly, curiously studying the bottles and jars in my hands, but she never asked what they were. She knew I didn't like people nagging me while I cooked, even though I never actually said it. There was one time I forgot to put salt in the soup, and didn't even notice it myself. Yet she had already quietly pushed the salt shaker to the edge of the counter. We ate at the low wooden table in the living room. I sat on the sofa, and she sat on the small stool across from me. For the first few days, she would just hold her bowl without saying a word, burying her face in it, poking at the rice with her chopsticks, and putting the grains into her mouth, one by one. Later on, she started stealing glances at me, and even later, she dared to smile when I told my terrible jokes. One day, Zhujian gave his wife a hat. Lady Whitesnake put it on and died instantly. Do you know why? Huh? Why? Because it was a duckbill cap. Crushed snake cap. Oh, haha. I said, your bar for humor is way too low. No, it's not. It's just that Mr. Landlord's expression was too funny. The post-dinner dishwashing routine was an ironclad rule. She washes the dishes, and I wipe the table. She washes them very slowly, rubbing dish soap into suds, meticulously scrubbing each bowl one by one. She's more focused than someone doing a chemistry experiment. After she finishes all of this, she would turn back to look at me. That look meant, can I go now? Go ahead. I say this every time. Thanks for the food. She doesn't even wait for my response. After saying that, she scurries up the stairs. After this routine repeated for 7 days, I started looking forward to dinner. Well, maybe I'm just a glutton. One night, after she finished washing the dishes and went upstairs, I was leaning against the sofa, scrolling through my phone. I came across her WeChat moments from yesterday. She had just added me the day before. Her profile picture is a white cat. There's only one photo in her moments. It was a picture she took of tonight's dinner, accompanied by the caption, "So happy." There were no likes and no comments. I stared at those words for a long time. Then, I tossed my phone aside and looked up at the ceiling. Faint footsteps came from upstairs. It was her walking around in her room. This old house has terrible soundproofing. Just a few steps upstairs can be heard perfectly clearly downstairs. Usually, she walks very slowly and softly, as if she's afraid of disturbing me. But tonight, her footsteps were hurried, pacing back and forth several times. I thought it was a bit strange, but I didn't think much of it. My mistake was precisely not thinking much of it. Around 10 o'clock, I suddenly heard a muffled thud from upstairs. It was the sound of a body slamming against the wall. Then came a very faint, desperately suppressed whimper. I grabbed my jacket and sprinted upstairs. Lin Wanwan. No one answered. I pressed my ear against the door and heard erratic, rapid breathing, like someone who had just been pulled from drowning and was gasping frantically for air. What are you doing in there? Open the door. I took a step back and kicked the door lock with all my might. The door slammed into the wall and bounced back, and I caught it with one hand. The lights in the room were off, with only the white glare of a phone screen reflecting on the ceiling. The screen was still on, completely filled with a swarm of message notifications. She was curled up in the corner of her bed, her back pressed tightly against the wall, and her knees pulled to her chest. She had shrunk herself into a tiny ball. I didn't dare to touch her directly, but my intuition told me the problem was with the phone. I picked up the phone from the floor. The screen was flooded with direct message notifications, one after another, densely packed with nothing but curses and insults. The topmost message was from an account with a flashy profile picture, whose id was strawberry-flavored cornetto. It contained a long string of screenshots and a block of text. Everyone, avoid this artist. She scammed me out of 80 RMB for an avatar. I turned off the screen and tossed the phone aside. Crouching down, I carefully reached out and gently touched her shoulder. She flinched violently and let out a hoarse shriek. Lin Wanwan, it's me. She showed no reaction at all. These were symptoms of a panic attack. I had read an article specifically about this before, and I frantically recalled the solutions it mentioned. I'm here to help. Pick her up. Let her lean against a stable surface. Provide her with a safe and controllable environment. Don't leave her alone. I scooped her up and sat on the edge of the bed, letting her lean against my chest. Her heart was racing like a runaway motor, pounding wildly and erratically. I pulled the blanket over to wrap her up. It's okay now. You're okay. Slow down your breathing. Follow my lead. Inhale. Exhale. Maybe 10 minutes. Maybe half an hour. Maybe even longer. Her trembling body relaxed bit by bit. Her breathing slowly returned to a normal pace. Her clenched fingers loosened, and she leaned softly into my embrace, like a string finally loosening after being stretched to its limit. And then she cried. Not the suppressed, silent sobbing from before, but a loud, heart-wrenching wail. I held her tight, without saying a word. I just hugged her quietly and kept patting her back. She cried for a long time, until her voice went completely hoarse. Her breathing calmed down, and her body stopped trembling. Then, she slowly pulled away from my arms, wiped her tears with the back of her hand, and kept her head down, not daring to look at me. Thank you. Have some water. She took the cup and took a sip. Choked a little, coughed twice, and took another sip. Then, she held the cup with both hands, lowered her eyes, and stayed silent. I picked up her phone, unlocked it, and clicked on that strawberry-flavored cornetto's profile. The profile picture was pretty, but there was very little content. The account was only 3 months old. It was obviously a burner account. I clicked into the warning post she had made, and read it carefully from start to finish. The chat history was incomplete. She had only screenshotted Lin Wanwan's messages, and the order was completely mixed up. The most crucial parts of the conversation, the delivery time, revision requests, and the confirmation of receipt, were entirely missing. I took screenshots and exited. Wait here for a moment. She looked up at me, her eyes still red. I turned around, went downstairs, kicked my bedroom door open, and turned on my computer. I majored in software engineering. Even though I hated working as a programmer, tracking digital footprints was absolute child's play to me. At 2:17 a.m., I tracked down that strawberry-flavored cornetto's real IP address. It linked to the same account across 3 platforms, all tracing back to the exact same location, a dorm room in a university town in the provincial capital. Then, following this IP, I found a bragging post she had made on another social platform. Got a free profile picture today. So happy. In the comment section below, one of her friends asked how she got it for free. She replied, I just asked for a refund after she finished drawing. There was no contract anyway, so she couldn't do anything about it. Ha ha ha. I took screenshots and recorded my screen. I recovered the chat logs she had deleted from the cache, and made a clear comparison between her contradictory refund records and the claim that the refund wasn't received. A total of 21 pieces of evidence. The timeline was crystal clear, and the logical loopholes were completely exposed. At 3 a.m., I compiled all the evidence into a long post, attached the original screenshots, and posted it online. At the same time, I direct messaged it to the accounts that had first shared her warning post, as well as to an influencer dedicated to defending artists' rights. At 4 a.m., that strawberry-flavored cornetto saw my post. Panicking, she started deleting her posts, but it was too late. My post had already been shared everywhere. The number of comments below began to skyrocket. Wait, this evidence is way too solid. Holy shit, a plot twist. This is the real truth. That cornetto is the actual scammer. The thief is crying thief. I'm siding with the artist on this one. The evidence is undeniable. I feel so bad for the artist. At 5 a.m., she issued a public apology. At 6 a.m., she transferred back the 80 RMB she owed for the avatar drawing. The note read, I'm sorry. I tossed my phone aside, leaned back in my chair, and rubbed my sore eyes. Outside, the sky was just beginning to brighten. Sparrows were chirping in the cherry blossom tree. The morning light spilled in through the half-open curtains, painting a pale golden stripe across the floor. Light footsteps came from the stairs. Lin Wanwan walked in, her eyes still swollen. She looked at me. I looked at her. She looked at me. I looked at her. It was quiet for a long time. You didn't sleep? I slept for a bit and woke up. Her gaze fell on the dark circles under my eyes. I've handled everything. You can see for yourself. She took the phone and scrolled through it for a while. Her fingers stopped on the page, showing, User has transferred 80 RMB to you. It paused there for a few seconds. Then, her eyes welled up with tears again. Don't cry. You have way too many tears. She raised the back of her hand and wiped her eyes. Why did you help me? I I'm just your tenant. I stood up, walked to the kitchen doorway, picked up an apron, and tied it on. We're having egg fried rice for breakfast. You still haven't answered me. I opened the fridge and took out 3 eggs. Maybe I just have too much free time. Meeker, landlord. Next time you get bullied, you need to speak up. If you don't know how, come find me. I'll speak up for you. After that day, Lin Wanwan changed a little bit. The change was so small, you wouldn't even notice it if you didn't look closely. For example, she stopped burying her face in her bowl while eating. Do you know why the flower laughed? Because it got the stem of the joke. She would occasionally look up, and when I told dad jokes, the corners of her mouth would curve up first, before she pretended to take a sip of water. For instance, she dared to make eye contact with me for more than a second, though any time beyond that usually ended with her frantically knocking over her water cup. And when she washed the dishes, she would hum softly. She hummed melodies I couldn't name, with a soft, gentle tune, like the spring breeze rustling through the tips of the cherry blossom tree. One time, I purposely stood at the kitchen door and refused to leave. She hummed quieter and quieter, until she finally went completely silent. The tips of her ears were as red as a boiled shrimp. Keep going. It sounds really nice. She scrubbed the bowl in her hands until it squeaked, held her breath for a long time, and finally squeezed out, I'm done washing. Then she bypassed me and scurried upstairs. I watched her fleeing figure and popped a cherry into my mouth. So sweet. In mid-April, the old cherry blossom tree in the yard started shedding its petals. The petals drifted down like pink snow, blanketing the entire yard. Every morning when I opened the door, I had to sweep them up. Lin Wanwan squatted by the edge of the yard, picking up petals. She picked out the intact and clean ones, and pressed them one by one into her sketchbook. What are you picking those up for? To make bookmarks. You're making so many bookmarks. Can you even read that many books? I can give you a few. All right, pick as you like then. So, when I swept the yard, I also started keeping an eye out for nice petals on the ground. The next day, under my mug, sat a cherry blossom bookmark. It was laminated, pressed perfectly flat. The pinkish-white petals were sealed within the transparent film, and beside them was a line of small text written in fountain pen. Thank you for the egg fried rice, Master Landlord. I tucked it into the book by my bed, a copy of Code Complete that I hadn't flipped open in half a year. By the 3rd weekend of April, as I leaned against the door frame drinking a cold cola, I suddenly realized something. Lin Wanwan had been living here for almost 20 days, and I hadn't seen her leave the house once, to be precise. Other than the time she was cornered in the alley, she hadn't stepped foot outside the courtyard at all. She was like a bird that locked itself in a cage. The cage door was open, but she refused to leave. It wasn't that she didn't want to. She didn't dare to. I decided to take her out for a walk. After breakfast on Saturday morning, I shoved a shopping bag into her hands. Come on, go to the vegetable market and help me carry the groceries. Me? The vegetable market? It's just 2 streets past the entrance to the alley. It's a 5-minute walk, and there aren't many people. At this hour, the old folks have all finished their shopping and gone home. The vendors are all dozing off. She still stood at the kitchen door, hesitating, too scared to move. I'll treat you to some roasted chestnuts at the entrance. Her eyes flickered, as if she was making some kind of resolution. Let's go, Lin Wanwan. You can't stay indoors for the rest of your life. If you're really that scared, you can hold onto the hem of my shirt. After 5 seconds of silence, she finally took the first step. Actually, there was nothing scary about the vegetable market. Tongqing was a small county town, and the West City vegetable market only had 3 rows of stalls in total. The granny selling vegetables knew me. Little Lou, here to buy groceries again today? Then Shed stuffed an extra bulb of garlic into my shopping bag. Lin Wanwan followed behind me, clutching the handles of the shopping bag tightly, walking with her head down. Occasionally startled by a passing electric scooter, she would shrink completely behind my back. Give me a discount, Granny. I'm buying 3 caddies, after all. While I was haggling with the granny at the vegetable stall, she secretly checked out the goldfish stall next to us, her eyes following a red butterfly tail more goldfish around in a circle. You want it? She was startled and shook her head vigorously. I pulled out $5 and bought 2 little red goldfish, shoving them into her hands. For you. She hugged the bag of goldfish to her chest, the corners of her mouth curling up. Thank you. Don't mention it. On the way back, she took the initiative to take a step forward, shifting from walking diagonally behind me to walking right beside me. There was still a 3-step distance between us, but at least she was no longer hiding behind my back. That night after dinner, she put the 2 goldfish in a transparent glass jar. When I went upstairs to drop off her washed duvet cover, I saw her drawing those 2 goldfish. Her pencil rustled against the paper. She was drawing extremely earnestly. The goldfish tails were drawn large and flowing, rippling out in the water, like 2 plumes of red smoke. She gave that drawing to me, with her name signed at the bottom. It was no longer that tiny signature huddled in the corner, but rather 3 neatly written characters. Lin Wanwan. In early May, one of her illustrations caught the eye of an editor from a picture book publishing company. It was the drawing she had done in the courtyard earlier. The sunset, the cherry blossom tree, and the back of a man wearing an apron, standing in the kitchen. She posted this drawing on her social media, with just a period for the caption. As a result, that post was shared over 3,000 times and got 20 reposts. Then, the publisher's direct message arrived. Hello, Teacher Lin. I am an editor from Yeming Picture Book Publishing. I saw this drawing of yours. It's perfect for a full picture book. A full picture book. If possible, would you be available to meet and discuss in detail? She was thrilled. She dashed downstairs, taking the steps 2 at a time, and held up her phone for me to see. She poked at the direct message on the screen with her finger, opening her mouth for a long time, unable to form a complete sentence. I took the phone and glanced at it, and I was stunned too. They want to sign a contract with you and have you illustrate a whole picture book. She nodded vigorously, tears of excitement welling up in her eyes. I handed the phone back to her, then scooped her up and spun her around. She let out a terrified scream, then realized her feet were off the ground. She grabbed my shoulders in a panic, her face flushing red all the way to her neck. Ahem. I quickly put her down, cleared my throat, and pretended nothing had happened. Happy? We're having a feast tonight. Even though she was blushing hard, when it came to that pot of sour mustard fish for dinner, she polished off 3 bowls of rice all by herself. As for the contract, just as I expected, the happier she was at first, the harder it hit her later. The editor arranged to meet on Wednesday at a cafe in the county town to talk in detail. When Lin Wanwan heard the word meet, she instantly went silent. She didn't come down for dinner that night. I took a bowl of food upstairs and knocked on her door. I knocked several times before she finally opened it. Her eyes were red. It was obvious she had been crying again. I don't dare. I'm too scared to meet them. What if they think I'm not good enough? What if I can't even speak when I see them face to face? What if I sat down next to her? Do you want to illustrate this picture book? She was silent for a moment, then gave a muffled nod. Then go. I'll go with you. She looked up at me, tears still glistening in her eyes. Aren't you afraid I'll embarrass myself? How could you embarrass anyone? You're the prettiest girl I've ever seen. Your drawings are amazing. And even though you can't cook, your dishwashing skills are professional grade. You raise goldfish plumper than the ones in an aquarium. How is that embarrassing? She froze. I realized what I had just said and turned to look out the window. After about 10 seconds of silence, Mearder landlord. Landlord, what is it? You said I'm the prettiest girl you've ever seen. Did I? Yes. You heard wrong. No, I didn't. Then why do you remember it so clearly? On the day we met the editor at the cafe, Lin Wanwan wore a dress I'd never seen before. If you keep dawdling, we're going to be late. I'm coming. When she walked around the corner, I was stunned for a moment. Does it look bad? It looks great. Let's go. The bus was a bit crowded. She was jostled by the crowd and instinctively grabbed my sleeve. I looked down at her hand, then gently pulled my sleeve from her grasp. She paused, and just as she was about to pull her hand back, I took her hand in mine. She stiffened. The bus bumped and swayed along its route, while rows of cherry blossom trees receded outside the window. She didn't say anything, and neither did I, but her hand, which had initially been curled up stiffly, slowly, gradually relaxed, and then gently squeezed mine back. Her palm was slightly damp with sweat, a unique sign of her nervousness. The meeting with the editor went smoother than expected. Lin Wanwan blushed the entire time, kept her head down, and stumbled over her words. But the editor was a young woman with round glasses, who spoke very gently. She never interrupted her once during the entire meeting. Instead, whenever she stuttered, I took the initiative to take over the conversation and smooth things over for her. I helped her go through the contract terms one by one. After making sure there were no issues, I handed her the pen. Her hands were trembling so much she couldn't hold it steady. I held the back of her hand and helped her steady it as she signed her name, Lin Wanwan. The strokes of those 3 characters trembled slightly on the paper, but every single one was perfectly neat and upright. They were exactly like the handwriting on the note she left in my house on her first day. Phew. After walking out of the coffee shop, she stood under a cherry blossom tree by the road and suddenly spoke. I did it. I stood next to her and lit a cigarette. It was a habit I picked up while drifting in Beijing. I barely smoked after moving back. But in that moment, I inexplicably felt like having one. Lu Ji, thank you. It was the first time she didn't call me Mr. Landlord. Landlord. I put out my cigarette. You're welcome. It'll always be like this from now on. You just keep walking forward, and I'll be watching your back. If you ever get too tired to walk, I'll carry you. She smiled again. This time, it wasn't one of her fleeting, timid smiles. Her eyes curved into little crescents, letting the tears that had been welling up for so long flow out along with her laughter. The early summer breeze blew in from the alleyway. The last cherry blossom petal fell on her hair. I reached out to brush it off. She lowered her head and gently bumped her head against my chest, like a cherry blossom landing on the water's surface. It was so light it felt almost weightless, yet it sent ripples echoing through my heart. I stood there, my heartbeat drowning out the sound of the wind across the entire street. She took a step back, turned around, and ran. After a few steps, she stopped and glanced back at me. I want sweet and sour spare ribs for dinner," she shouted, and then ran off, leaving me alone in the early summer dusk, rooted to the spot like a block of wood. I reached up and touched my face. So sweet. I think I'm falling in love. The next day, I bumped into someone I shouldn't have at the alley entrance. It was those three girls again. They were leaning against a utility pole at the entrance, looking like three moldy candied haws. When they saw me walk out, they stiffened, then pretended to look down and play with their phones. I walked a dozen steps past them, when I suddenly heard a very low mutter behind me. "She really lives here, huh?" The night I went out to send a package, it was raining heavily. The rain smashed against the roof tiles, sounding like 10,000 people beating drums all at once. I held my umbrella, stepping into puddles the whole way. By the time I got back, I was half soaked. As I reached the alleyway, I saw three silhouettes standing at my courtyard gate. They pushed the door open and went inside. I closed my broken umbrella behind them. I tapped it against the ground and followed them inside. They were standing in the middle of the yard, looking up at the windows on the second and third floors. The red-haired girl tilted her head back and hollered, "Wan, come down for a bit. Let's have a chat." "Yeah, come on down." The curtains on the third floor twitched. Lin Wanwan's silhouette stiffened, then shrank back and disappeared from the window. "Lin Wanwan, you're not being a good friend. We're supposed to be sisters. We came all this way just to see you, and you won't even open the door? Did you forget your sisters just because you found yourself a man?" I leaned my umbrella against the base of the wall, cracked my knuckles, and walked over. "Who are you looking for?" "Oh, hello there, Mr. Landlord. We're just here to catch up with our old friend." "It's none of your business, is it? Catch up? Last time in the alley, you smashed her drawings. What are you planning to smash this time?" "What do you mean, smash her drawings?" "That was all just a misunderstanding. Lin Wanwan and us have been good friends since high school. She used to love hanging out with us back then." "Lin Wanwan, come out here. Tell him. Aren't we friends?" The lights on the third floor went out. The entire window plunged into darkness. The red-haired girl choked mid-shout. She swallowed hard and turned to look at me. "Would someone who's just being shy turn the lights off on you?" "Just leave." "Fine, I get it now. You're her boyfriend." "That's right. So stay the hell away from her from now on." "Wow, how interesting. Let's go. She's got a knight in shining armor now. We're clearly out of her league. Has a pretty handsome guy, too. Too bad his taste is awful. Do you even know what kind of person she is? She was famous back in school for being a..." I said leave. "Oh, you finally decided to show yourself?" I've already called the police. If you don't leave right now, the police will come for you." "Lin Wanwan, what the hell is that supposed to mean? You hook a sugar daddy and suddenly forget your own sisters?" "Yeah, Lin Wanwan. The least you could do is come down and chat with us. You bullied me for 3 years. Are you still not going to let me go?" I grabbed the broom from the corner of the wall. "Are you leaving or not?" "What? You want to hit us? Come on, hit me. That's intentional assault. If I don't beat the crap out of you, consider yourself lucky. Are you mentally deficient? This is called trespassing on private property. I have every right to drive you out. Besides, do you really think a yard this big wouldn't have security cameras? Let's go." The red-haired girl stood up and ran out of the yard with her two friends. I stood at the door, watching them leave. "Take care. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. If I ever see you three here again, I wouldn't mind taking you to the station for some tea." On the third floor, Lin Wanwan let out a long sigh of relief. "Close the window. You'll catch a cold from the rain." She didn't move. I sighed and turned to walk back inside. Just as I walked through the door, I heard the heavy thumping of footsteps rushing down the stairs. She hadn't even put on her shoes, running down barefoot from the third floor. "It's okay now." She threw herself directly into my arms. She hit me with such force that I stumbled back half a step. Her fingers clutched tightly at the fabric on my back, gripping so hard that her knuckles dug into my spine through my wet clothes. "Thank you for saying you're my boyfriend." I placed my hand on the back of her head and gently stroked her damp hair. Taking a moment to calm my own racing heart, I spoke to her with utter seriousness. I meant what I said. "Well, weren't you just saying that to make them leave? I want take it seriously. You don't have to." "Lin Wanwan, I like you. What about you? That day, by the kitchen door, you said I was the prettiest girl you'd ever seen. Since then, can we please not bring that up again?" "No, I like you too. So now, your boyfriend can officially and openly protect you."